You're listening to For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation.
Hello there.
And welcome back to another edition of our Andor recaps here on For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. I am Andrew, joined by Conor once more, and we have a special guest this week. If we're going to be talking Andor, we have to go with one of the experts. You might know her as Jin My Stardust on Twitter. It is Mo. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic.
Lovely.
Another solid episode of Andor. I can't complain. Really.
Exactly. The more we get the Rogue One and Andor truthers on here, the more it's great, because we need the experts here to talk about this show, because I've just been loving it. But I think getting more people that like their whole life is living vicariously through the events of Rogue One, and then by default this show, like we just need more of that, and I'm just all here for it. I know a couple weeks ago you were on Conor's other podcast, Knights of the Nerd Republic. I was able to check out some of that episode. That was a really good discussion. So I was like, hey, Conor, is Mo free this week? We need a guest for this week. And then here we go. Here we are. Don could not make it this week. Damn UK time. But I have a special message from him that I have to share later in the episode about something that we've been discussing throughout these episodes. But when we get to that, we will get to that.
It's a long-standing bit at this
It's a long-standing bit here on For the Republic whenever background actors show up in this series in particular. But Mo, before we get started on talking about Andor, one thing I like to do for new guests that we have on any of our shows is just to get a glimpse into who they are as a fan and their journey through becoming falling in love with Star Wars. So if you have like your earliest memory of becoming a fan and what really made you fall in love with this universe and made you just truly become who you are, and I guess a follow-up question is, what is it about Rogue One that spoke to you the most out of all the other movies, and why that one is I'm assuming it's your favorite. So if you want to just tell that story or any of those stories real quick, feel free.
I guess my earliest memory would be watching any of the original trilogy on VHS. My dad was like a really big sci-fi nerd, and he loved Star Wars. My parents' first date, I think, was A New Hope, like in theaters.
Ooh.
So it's always been
goals if I've ever heard it.
It's always been in our family, and we grew up with the original trilogy on VHS, and I have just always loved Star Wars. Like, it's always been something that I've adored. I think as a kid, like there was just like so many times where like I wanted to watch it and just never understood what was going on. I just loved the escapism of it. I loved to just be inserted into that galaxy. And I feel like I was never like super diehard until probably Rogue One. Like, it came out and I didn't even see any of the trailers for Rogue One. I didn't even know what it was about. I just wanted to watch it.
Wow.
And I know I was just like, oh, Star Wars, of course I'll watch it. And it was fantastic. And I actually didn't watch it again for like probably like another year or so. I just remembered that it was so good. And eventually, like, I had a different Twitter account, like my personal one. And like, I was like, oh, there's like a whole like sector of people on here that actually love Star Wars, because like I would tweet about it, like the sectors. I would tweet about it on my main, and like nobody would ever interact. I'm like, I am speaking to the literal void at this point. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna make a Star Wars Twitter. And it was fantastic. It just like deepened my love for Rogue One. I had like never even read a Star Wars book prior to that. Like, I joined Star Wars Twitter, and like everyone's love for Star Wars, I was like, oh man, I need to start reading the books. Like, I need to start doing some of this stuff. And so I started reading Catalyst. That was my first book that I read. And then I just went in the Rogue One
to start
rabbit hole. Started reading every book except the Ashes of Jedha comic run. I still haven't read that comic.
I didn't even know there was a thing. So I'm gonna
It's
have to
really, really
check that out.
fucking good.
And I
The
need
art
to. I
is-
literally just remembered that I haven't done it.
The
I
art
need to.
is but the story itself, pretty good.
The only
I
Rogue
know-
One comic I really know of is the K2 and Cassian one, which I hear isn't the
Yeah.
best. But
That, they could wreck on that. It's
I know
fine.
it's like there's the Guardians of the Wills book that they made a manga adaptation of, which I want to get that.
I do
And
need to
then-
read that too.
I know there's Rebel Rising, which is a favorite here
Fantastic.
in the For the Republic verse
So good.
and friends
I
of the
still need
show.
to find it. I
I got it earlier this year because of M and Austin always tweeting about it. I'm like, okay,
It's
I need
so
to
good.
see what this is about.
Especially if you like Saw, you're gonna love that book.
I thought
It's fantastic.
funny story is I thought I had that book. I thought I got it when it first came out. I had like convinced myself that I had it because when I was
you
reorganizing
get
my
list
bookshelf,
yourself.
yeah, when I was reorganizing my bookshelf, I was like, where is my copy of Rebel Rising? And then I had to go through and was like, do I not own this book? And then I like went through my purchase history and everything, and I just never bought a copy of Rebel Rising. So I had to change that.
You majorly gaslit
I
yourself.
gaslit
Yeah.
myself into
That's
thinking that I've
insane.
owned a book and it was a years long process. Like years, I was like, yeah, eventually I'll get to my copy of Rebel Rising.
It's
It's like-
even worse.
It's like, oh, I thought I owned a copy of Tarkin too, but I guess I just don't. Either that or like I got it in like one of those ones where it's like a couple stories in one, and I just lost my copy of it. But
Mm.
I'll tell that another
I read
time.
it. I
but-
read that. I read Rebel Rising on Kindle. I'm like, this is really good. I should own a physical copy of it. And that was like, when it came out, what, 2016, right?
I think the year after.
Yeah,
Rogue
I think
One.
it was
So
right
I think
after.
it's
Okay, so yeah.
2017 is when
Was
it
it
came
2017? Wow.
out. Yeah, it's been
felt
6
like it-
years since Rogue One. That's
Yeah.
kind of insane. It's actually very insane.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
still
was
need-
like-
I need to get that.
It was one of the ones that like I rewatched the least for a while. But
Dude,
then
I've
like
watched that movie so much. I think I've seen it like 26 times
I'm-
because
Yeah.
the second
It's
I
one
got
where,
the
like,
Blu-ray,
every
just
time I watched it, I'd come out feeling different. Like there'd be parts of the movie that I loved and then parts I didn't. The third act was always like top tier, but then like other parts of the movie it would be like watching them for the first time every single time. But then I recently rewatched it after episode 5 of Andor, like right before the end of the Aldani arc. I rewatched it and I was like, this is okay. I'm now officially in the Rogue One as a masterpiece
It is.
sector of the fandom because it's so good. And it's
Have you read the novelization?
no, the novelizations are a weak point in my fandom knowledge. I don't want to don't
Oh,
Don't
the
give
only
any
novelization.
ideas. No.
The only
No,
novelization
Andrew.
I've read is Rogue One. I haven't
Andrew,
read
I'm not
any of
even thinking of that. I haven't read the novelization. The only thing I know from the Rogue One novelization is Mon
It's
Mothma's
creepy.
eulogy
Mon Mothma.
with Gerrera, and it
Oh, no.
kills me
It does.
every time.
Is
I
it the
cannot read that
novelization-
without crying. I cannot.
Is it the novel or is it the comic of Rogue One where like they add a scene with Saw about Steela? I
Think?
want to say it's the comic.
I think that's the comic. I
Yeah,
don't
But
that does
that's
sound
one thing-
familiar.
I do hope they touch on in Andor about with Saw's scenes is his kind of
Same.
grief towards Steela's death and how that's kind of affected him becoming such a radical fighter of the Empire and all forms of oppression through any means necessary, which is a very key component of Saw Gerrera's character. Because yeah, we got Saw in this episode finally. I was like the whole time I was watching it, I was like, you know, it would be kind of cool if they had Saw show up in this one because I was thinking in my head like, are they gonna wait till the last arc to introduce
I was like,
Saw?
please don't. I really.
And then
didn't
I
want
see
that.
Luthen flying. I'm like, oh, it's like he's not going to the prison planet. And I'm like, oh, and then I saw two tubes and I got very excited.
The second he hopped
So-
in the ship, I was like, hop in the ship. Go see him.
Please
go
go.
see your buddy. Let's do this. Yes. Keep
Yep.
flying.
Yeah, I mean, we got Saw, and then we got. What I loved about this episode was it blended everyone's stories together seamlessly, and it worked. It was going so fast and it worked so well. Like we got Cassian's prison break story, but then we would get Mon Mothma, we would get Luthen, we would get Bix, and the whole Ferrix crew showing up again, and then
My
we had that
homie,
great
Brasso.
Bix. I'm worried.
Capital B,
I'm
that
worried.
bitch, Brasso.
Exactly. I have my my thing to say about the Bix thing at the end, Connor. I don't think I like a certain character anymore after the end of this episode. But
I think I know who.
talk. Yeah, but I guess we can talk about that scene now. Between one of them, just to rip the Band-Aid off. Back when I actually liked the character. But we got our first interaction between Dedra and Cyril in this episode, which I thought was a great scene.
Waiting on
there
this.
were a couple just killer lines in this scene. First of all, just Cyril again. Mo, you have not been on, so my recurring theme is the pathetic nature of his character. Just literally everything about him. It gets worse each episode. Just him sitting there, like the leg shaking, and then the tie with the the tie part.
Suit, his anxious self in his little tailored suit.
I'm just every week it's like, what this guy, and then Dedra just kind of just like interrogates him, and I think it's going to be leading towards them working closer together because Cyril like kind of begs her. It's like, oh, I don't think there's any rule in whatever the line was about keeping order. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's like you can never be like aggressive enough or
aggressive
not
enough when
Yeah.
trying to maintain
Preserve
order.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a great line. And it seemed like the stuff he was saying was really getting to Dedra, but she was still like, you never had this conversation. Forget about this. Like still having like that just intimidating factor towards Cyril, but I think it's going to lead to them working together sooner rather than later. Because I don't think he's going to be stuck in his little space cubicle for the rest of the season.
No,
He
yeah,
will.
he's
And
trying
he
to.
also will not stop looking for Cassian. Like
No.
he's not. She specifically said not doing. He said, "I'm gonna do it anyway."
Because
Yeah, no, he's trying.
Yeah.
Well, they're both trying to prove their worth in different ways.
exactly,
but they're
and
both
the
linked
more
via
that
Cassian.
Cyril was kind of planning in Dedra's mind that like we need to go after this Cassian guy, all of a sudden in the next ISB meeting, she name drops Cassian a couple more times, says it's important. They show his hologram in the meeting. Yularen shows up again. One thing I do like about the way that they're treating Yularen's appearances is like for the diehards, like we know who Yularen is because we watch Clone Wars. We know he's the background guy in A New Hope, but they're not like referring to him by name. So to any other
never
casuals, that's just some high-ranking Imperial. There's never any scene where Dedra needs to like stop dead in her tracks, look at the camera, and be like, "Colonel Yularen of the ISB, veteran of the Clone Wars." Like, there's nothing like that.
Narrator
where, like,
of the Clone Wars.
just like in the corner, being like, "All right, so this is the important guy." Like just let the camera stay on him. Like there was the one scene in last week's Andor where it reveals him, and we're all like, "Okay, that's got to be Yularen." And then, but if you didn't watch Clone Wars and you just watched Andor, or you're just watch the movies and you're a big Rogue One fan, it doesn't impact your enjoyment at all.
Yeah, he's just
Because,
like, he's the guy in charge.
You need to know, like, he's a high-ranking Imperial. He's ahead of Partagaz. He's ahead of Dedra. And that's all you really need to know about his character in this show. And I think they're handling his performance and the way they're using him great. Which I hope that if we get any other cameos like Yularen or any other appearances from characters that could show up, that it's done that way. We did get another.
I think it will though, because even Tony Gilroy said he's like, there will be Easter eggs in it, but like it's not going to be like, hey, look at this. It's just nope, it's here, and it's in Star Wars, but it has nothing to do with the story, so we're not going to focus on it too much. Like it's just there for you to enjoy, and that's all.
Exactly.
But remember, there's no Easter eggs
There's none.
in the show.
None in the whole show.
No,
Zero.
No,
Sorry. I was holding it in. Connor. I was like, should I say it? I was like, should I give the joke a break?
Every time we go to Luthen's shop, no, there's no Easter eggs
There's
at all.
not a single one.
Never.
But yeah, so the ISB stuff, like we only really had that one scene, and then we had the scene at the end with Dedra, which, girly, I thought I liked you. I was rooting for you. I was like, yeah, you get higher up in the Empire. You show Blevin or whatever his name is, who's boss.
Right.
And you had to go
That's
after
the thing is, like,
my
the last
girl.
episode, like, you had sympathy for her. Like, you're feeling bad for her. You want her to succeed. And in this episode, this is her succeeding. Like, she is still a fascist. And, like, that is just such fantastic writing because, like, you're like, man, last week I was rooting for you and now you're doing this. But it's like,
you're doing this. It's like, oh, yeah, they are, in fact, the villains of this show. Who would have thought? All the people like, yeah, the Empire, like, are you sure that they're the bad guys in the show? And then we see awful prison with literal, like, suicide floors, and then the stuff with Dedra at the end. Tony Gilroy also just turning my world upside down, because the whole time I thought her Bix's name was pronounced Bix Kayleen, but it's Colleen now, which I've been saying it wrong. I got to get used to this, Tony. You could have informed me about this. Like, I'm establishing a brand here, buddy, that I'm the Bix lover of the podcast. But yeah, I guess we can talk more about that the prison now, because that was the main theme of the episode. We see Cassian being loaded onto one of the, like, Imperial ships at the beginning of the episode. He's being brought to Narkina 5, and he's like, oh, what's Narkina 5? And of course they don't tell him. And we find out it's like a Imperial, like, labor prison. Yeah. And the way that they kind of introduce things, and they do it very, like, cleverly, which I liked, because they show these Imperials and they zoom in on, like, their uniforms before they show their faces, and they have these, like,
you see their
weird looking shoe things on.
That.
Yeah, and we're like, what is that? Like, I'm like, are these going to be, like, are we supposed to know these characters? And then they're just a bunch of random Imperials. And then we find out when they flip the switch of just the absolute pain that these floors can cause to those. And again, you find it very weird, because they're like, okay, shoes, sandals, all of it off. So I'm like, okay, what's the point of this? Are we just, like, is this just where Quentin Tarantino got behind the director's camera? It was like, we need as many shots of the dogs as we possibly can.
Like, what's going on?
It's like, I was like, there's a lot of shots of toes in this episode, which is not my favorite thing. It's got to be awful, especially after the shocking and everything. Like,
Nope, don't want to think about it.
No,
don't want to think about it.
But we have just the most, like, dystopian prison that you could think of. It's like, all right, so we're gonna have all white prison, these, like, very plain, very dystopian prison jumpsuits. Everyone is going to be barefoot. They're going to be walking around. They're all going to be working on the same machines. And, you know, if you screw up, you get zapped. And it's just so brutal. And the way that, like, they describe it, because the Empire, or the Imperials, like, they pitch this labor camp as like, see, it's not that bad if you keep to your post and you keep working hard, you'll make the most out of your stay. But it's like, nope, you're stuck in here for this amount of time. There's no way you can leave. There's no way you can escape. And in a way, it's more brutal. And I think that's what it's supposed to be, is like, it's more brutal than just being stuck in a cell for a couple of years, because you're always at watch, and you know that there's no way of getting out. There's no way of reducing your sentence. And
there's like a routine, and there's like a routine to it, but it's a routine that's very just like mind numbing. Yeah. And you can't, and you're not able to, like, free yourself from it. Dude, not take a breather.
It's so cruel, because it's like you're having everyone compete with each other in this prison, working like 12-hour shifts. And then it's like, if you're the losing shift, you're going to get shocked. And if you win, you're just going to get some flavor in your food. Like, that is the most cruel. Yeah. And then it's like, shout out Andy Serkis, but like,
oh yeah,
his character is like, he's not even an Imperial, but he feels like he has all this power. Yeah. Like, he's still a prisoner himself. And he feels like he has all this power over them. It's just insane.
He's like, oh, I have 200 days left in my sentence. And it's like, I want to, like, again, the fact that he's just a prisoner. To the Empire, he is just one of them.
He's nothing.
But they've made him feel like he has some semblance of power because he gets to provide and observe over all of these other prisoners. And it just, again, the cruelty of the Empire is like, if they could, there would be no hesitance. If they needed to just take him out, they would. 100%.
Yeah.
You know they would. And it was just crazy. The reveal of Andy Serkis was done so well. Because you see him, like, the floor manager talking in the background, and you can't really see his face, but you hear his voice. And I'm like, wow, they got someone that looks and sounds just like Andy Serkis to play that guy. That's crazy. And then they show his face. I'm like, oh my God, that's Andy Serkis. And then,
oh my God, it's Snoke.
Yeah, I'm like, what, Snoke? And you're already seeing the articles now. It's like,
is that Supreme Leader Snoke in Andor?
I'm like, no, it's not. It's just they're having a which again, I love that they're letting Andy Serkis be back in this universe and actually get to play another character.
I adore that.
It's so awesome.
Dude, I saw all this Snoke stuff like out of context before I watched the episode today, and I'm like, what the hell happened in this episode? And then I'm like, oh, it's just Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me going shit in all caps in our group chat was in reference to.
I legit thought like Snoke showed up, like based on people's tweets. I was like,
yeah,
what?
Snoke is just a random prisoner in this Imperial prison. But no, it's just like Andy Serkis gets to be Andy Serkis and yell a bunch, which is always just lovely.
It's always a good time.
And
I love it.
He's so like intimidating and he's so great and like he's so underrated as an actor because we all like he's most appreciated for his motion capture stuff, but which he's just a god at. But like him himself is just a wonderful actor to begin with, and I thought he knocked this role out of the park. But we get introduced to is it Table 5? That Cassian's a part of? Yeah, so we get introduced to the people there, and one of them happens to be Melshi from Rogue One, which my whole timeline last week, Mo, was like, oh yeah, Melshi's gonna show up. And I was very confused by like the like what because I guess like behind the scenes stuff had like shown that he was gonna be in the show.
Yeah.
But I was like, is there some like lore regarding Cassian and Melshi like in a prison that I'm just unfamiliar with? Everyone was talking about it. And I brought it up on the podcast last week. I'm like, does anyone know about this? And I think Conor was like, I don't even know who Melshi is.
I never said that. I know who Melshi is. Yeah, I was played by Duncan Powell. I know who Melshi.
He knows Ruth Scott.
What kind of straw man is this? What? This man going, oh, I don't know who Mel. I never said I never knew who Melshi was.
I brought it up, and everyone was like, "I got nothing for you, buddy. I don't even know what you're talking about right now." But no, I was really excited to see him. And
I said that that wasn't me.
Okay, maybe it was Don.
On record, that wasn't
Megan.
Me.
We'll have to see. I'll have to check the footage. But this is where I have to channel the spirit of Don and talk about the fact that one of the actors in this episode is, in fact, a Doctor Who alumni. Because a recurring thing is that because Don is from the UK. So, like, the last couple episodes, like, literally every time a new character shows up, you're like, so, actually, they showed up in Game of Thrones. So they showed up in Doctor Who. So I'm going to say that the actor that played Olaf is Christopher Fairbank, and he showed up in Series 8 of Doctor Who with Peter Capaldi. He was in an episode there. So thank you for the tidbit to share. I have spread the gospel about British television and its connection to Star Wars.
I think he was in Batman too.
He was. He was the Michael Keaton one. He was the the guy that Michael Keaton says I'm Batman too. Like that was him. I was originally like, because they showed his face and I didn't get a good look at him. I'm like, is that Peter Pettigrew from Harry Potter? But but it was not. It was just some random old guy. But he was good. I liked him. I liked this new crew.
Yeah, shout out the guy wose name is just Ham.
Yeah, Ham. What a Star Wars
I forgot about Ham.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Like, I'm not at the point yet where I was with the Aldani group, where after like an episode, I was like, I love them all except Skeen. We don't talk about Skeen here. But
Richie, I will never call him Skeen. That
cousin,
man's Richie.
Cousin betrayed us.
Of course he did.
Yeah, that's true.
How dare he?
It tracks, unfortunately.
Seems
like something Richie would do.
Yeah.
We'll go back to the Aldani stuff later, because people showed up and I got very excited later in the episode because I was not expecting it. The way that they just kind of handled it, but I have no complaint about it. But the way that they handled this prison, I really enjoyed the way that they handled the narrative around Cassian, because the first time we see him, we just see him just kind of like completely
disoriented,
zoning out. I don't know if he was just trying to like take in everything, or if like, because they kept saying work and he's just standing there. And I'm like he's just like, why? You just do at least try to act like you know what you're doing. He's just like standing there, super duper still.
I can't help but just feel.
What the hell is wrong with this guy?
I can't help but just feel terrible for him, because like, it's the same day that he was arrested and sentenced 6 years for literally doing nothing. Thrown into this labor camp, got shocked his first minute there, and is now like, all right, 12-hour shifts, work. He's like, what are you talking about?
He's like, what are you talking about? It's like, I'm a tourist. And there was another great scene. It's like,
what?
It's like, what did you do? And he was like, nothing. And it's like, we've been getting a lot of that lately. And they try to ask him another question about the insurrection and the rebels, and he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm like, all right, Cassian. He still is yet to embrace any of it.
It wasn't just like new prisoners. Like, it was also the people already there just got their sentences lengthened for literally nothing. Just because.
Yeah. Just because.
Yeah, the whole what are you in for? Nothing. Been hearing a lot of that lately. This is really, really, really nerdy, but it reminds me of this one quest line in the game Skyrim, where it's kind of the same thing. You get involved into some like murder conspiracy thing, and the guards throw you in jail for basically doing nothing. You didn't do shit. And like, it's kind of just that. And like, one of the people you're able to talk to, it's like, what are you in for? And you can answer like, nothing. Like, yeah, we've been getting, that's what everyone says. So yeah, it's kind of the same vibe there.
That was so sad, because like, his response was just like, oh yeah, we've been hearing that a lot. Like, it wasn't even a shock to him that it was nothing.
No, like, it's terrible. And it's all like the fact that it's indirectly like the stuff that he did in the Aldani mission. It's just, and the fact that he still isn't embracing the cause yet, and now he's stuck in prison. But they did a little bit of a...
And
go ahead.
Like, he still hasn't embraced the cause, and I'm like, perhaps he hasn't read Nemec's manifesto. Is Nemec's manifesto still in Niamos, in that bathroom where he had all of his credits?
Oh,
like, what happened to it? Is it still there? Is it all right? Is it safe?
I was hoping for a scene in prison where he'd read it, but I'm like, there's no way he can.
Because it's like,
sneak that in.
Even if he had it on him, like, I'm sure they like took his clothes off when he went into prison. So like, I don't know where it would be.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sad about that. Also, like, that person that rents out that room in Niamos the next time is just going to find all those credits up there. It's just going to make it.
I forgot that they're still all there.
Yeah.
So he's literally like, is he going to go back there? Like, what is he going to do? Or is like,
I don't know.
That one girl he was with is just going to go into the shower and be like,
she's like, dang, he never brought back the alcohol. That's rude.
Exactly. It's like, is he showing up? Like where?
So he
Where
just goes
is
to
he?
me.
Exactly. Maybe she can find one of the KX droids. Who knows?
They'll hang out for a bit or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they seem pretty cool, except when they're like grabbing two people just in one hand and just chucking them on the ground. A sick Jedi Fallen Order reference.
Yep.
But we then I like the fact that it cuts a month in advance, and I don't know
That
if
was
it's,
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it's just his story at this point that's flashed forward, or if everyone has.
I feel
I'm
like it's
assuming everyone because
Yeah.
of a reveal that we get later in the episode, but I did really like that. I'm assuming it is because at that point it's like Tay seems more involved in Mon Mothma's plans at that point. And then we see Luthen's thing, and then the stuff on Ferrix definitely seems like some time has passed, which I do like. And I thought it was a nice way of handling it because we know that this season is taking up around a year, whereas the next season they said it's going to be every 3 episodes a year is going to pass. So obviously some more time is going to have to pass, considering the first couple episodes really only took up about a month or so, I believe, according to like some of the lines, a month or two at least. And I like the way of doing that. So now the next time we see Cassian, he's more like stuck in the routine. And then we have the person trying to, did he fall? Was he trying to escape? And that happened with the red floors, which was just a brutal way of.
That was brutal. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it was a suicide, and it makes me even more sad because Jin also had to witness her cellmate committing suicide.
Yeah.
Like, while they were working, and it's like their stories just mirror each other so much. They're both in labor camps.
Another
pretty much
Jin
doing
Cassian connection. Like
Jin-
there's a
Jin
lot of that.
Cassian
There was the
persevering.
Kyber necklace in the Aldani arc, and now this, which again we still don't know if Vel returned the Kyber necklace to Luthen or not. Like
I'm assuming she
they
did.
still
Actually,
haven't
but then it's like,
brought that up.
yeah, I don't even know if they've interfaced since then. Maybe she gave
don't
it to
know.
Clea, and then Clea gave
Maybe.
it back.
But hey, at least we know that Synth is alive.
Yes.
Vel Cinta.
So
Vel Cinta, baby.
When she showed up just casually on Ferrix, I'm like, okay, so we not gonna like, how'd she get off Eldon? But like, I didn't care.
I was like, I don't care.
I was so excited. I'm like, my girlies are together again, and they like full on like they don't hide it in this one, which I love
it. I love that they don't hide it, and it's also just very casual. Like it's not anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like
it exists.
Mm-hmm. And then they separate them again, bastards.
The thing that killed me was in the editing when it's like,
oh, the mirror.
The mirror shot.
Oh my god,
like,
that shot!
I can't do this.
I couldn't, man.
It fucked me up.
I was like, what a shot! And then it's just So are they both still on Ferrix, or did one of them go off world?
Vel went off world, I believe.
Vel went off world, and then Cinta's in the hotel, right?
Yeah, she used public transit.
Yeah, she used the same. And then, like, someone is also, I guess, a few people are theorizing that Vel could be Luthen's kid, which that makes sense. And also, like, that shot is exactly the same of Luthen looking out the public transport window and her looking out the public transport window.
I didn't even think about that. And there was a line that Cinta kind of just ribs
yeah, the
her.
jab,
like,
the jab.
Yeah, when she was like, "Oh, you run away from your rich family." He's like, "That's low even for you." I'm like, "What family?" Care to tell us? Care to tell us? I got trivia questions. I got it right here.
And I mean,
like,
Luthen has an entire storefront of artifacts. Like, man is pretty well off.
Yeah, man is very well off. And then, but he has to wear the wig, which I just. The thing that I loved is I point out in the last couple episodes how, like, even though the wig is supposed to be his more like proper and presentable thing, it was just more and more disheveled each time we saw it. I'm like, bro, at this point, just go with your regular hair. Like it's less, like, it's more put together at that point.
Yeah.
But we got more of Clea again, which again, some people are like, oh, what is there something up here? Like, because she's like, no, you have to make sure that the Ferrix lines are completely cut off.
Yeah.
And that indirectly leads to some more bad stuff happening, which is just the way that things are just directly happening or indirectly happening because of Cassian and his friends are just terrible, because Bix tries to reach Cassian or tries to reach Luthen to find out where Cassian is, and then they shut it down, and then the guy that runs the store ends up captured by the Imperials to lure Bix in, and it just pain. But so I love seeing Bix
when
again.
They shut off that channel, and Bix is still sending out signals. Is it just going out into the world, and is that how the Empire found them?
I'm guessing either
or
that,
was it now because it wasn't going to a direct channel, were they able to trace it? Because they're obviously looking into Ferrix already, so I could see that.
I could say either tracing. That, yeah, tracing, or they know Bix has some relationship with Cassian, and they probably know that she frequents that shop, so it's let's kidnap the shopkeeper to lure Bix in. To try to get more about Cassian, because they don't know who Luthen is. They keep referring to him as Axis, I believe is the code name they call Axis. Him. So they're trying to figure out who Luthen is, and I wonder if they're going to try to get Bix to snitch. But as the conversation last episode had, she doesn't know who.
She doesn't know anything about Luthen. She doesn't even know his name.
That's going to be for nothing. But I'm wondering how is, because they've really set up the prison on Narkina 5 as space Alcatraz. You cannot escape.
Impenetrable. You can't get
so
there.
how are they going to get out? Because we know Melshi and Cassian are the people on the outside gonna break in and get them out, or are they gonna find a way to get through the floors and try to smuggle the boots? I don't know what they're gonna do, but I'm very excited to see where it goes.
I think there's one shot in the trailer, in one of the trailers, because I know there's 4 trailers for Andor. In one of the trailers, I think there's a shot or two where it shows a ton of inmates just running through the hallway, and it's more like a faraway shot, so you're looking in, and it's just a ton of them just running through the hallway. So whatever they do, it'll probably end up being that. I don't know what they could do, because again, this episode, the prison stuff is basically the floor is lava.
Yeah.
It's how do you
the darkest version possible of the floor?
Yeah.
Is lava.
I know.
Yeah, so it's everywhere else it's just a little shock, but in the cell area, it's no, that's bye-bye. You're that's
you can literally die, as we've seen.
Yeah, when they said hot floor and everything, I was oh, it's probably just going to be a really bad shock, and then that happened. I'm
that happened. It's yeah, that's a really bad shock. I love you walk in your sleep. It's what? It's no, you'll find out. I'm oh, that's what's going on here?
It'd be a terrible way to find out.
Those cells look like the most. I mean, it's an Imperial prison, so that's the point. Those cells look like the most uncomfortable thing in the world.
I could not sleep there.
You're literally just sleeping on just a straight up plank. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No blankies, no pillows.
No pillows.
Cassian doesn't have his Bantha plushie. How is he going to sleep?
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Speaking of Cassian's Bantha plushie, just the fact that Brasso and Bix keep checking in on Marva, I love that.
I love that,
dude.
I love that. I wasn't expecting it, but I love that they're still there with her, and we learn more about Marva's past. I think what do they refer to her as? The daughters of Ferrix.
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
I can't wait to learn about that.
It reminded me of the Daughters of the American Revolution, which is an organization here. So,
but
I just love that Marva. Big said that she's obsessed with the troopers. She just can't help. She just can't help but cause chaos, and I love that for her.
I'm very worried for her, but Same. Yeah.
Tony. Don't kill Fiona Shaw.
He is. I think he is. I don't think she's gonna make it out.
Yeah, no,
Conor, I have bad news for you.
I kind of figure it's gonna happen. I just like with how Fiona Shaw talked about Marva and what her character was like. I was like, yeah, she's probably gonna bite it.
Yeah.
I'm very worried.
But also, I really hope who I really hope doesn't bite it. Brasso.
Yeah.
That dude's a home. I love that guy.
He's
I
such
love
a
him.
homie.
Like when he was just like when he says to Bix like go to wherever and he just acts like an absolute doofus. I was like, yes.
I love him so much. I'm very worried for Bix though. I honestly was like, I was worried at the end of the episode. I thought they were just gonna end it right there.
Yeah.
And if they ended the episode like that, I would have said, Conor, I got to take this week off. Like I'm just, you're gonna. I
wouldn't have blamed you.
You're gonna have to host it without me, buddy. I can't do it.
Nah, they couldn't have done that. They needed her info first, which is like, I love that scene that Deidre's like, oh no, don't move him. Like I want her to see him. And then the second she comes in, why haven't you moved him? Like,
why haven't you moved him? I'm like, such
a power play. Like,
it took me a second. I was like, what? And I'm like, oh, I get it now.
He's like, no. I do want him to see. I do want him.
The pain,
her face, dude.
I know.
Adria,
last week when she was all bloodied and beat up, I was like, oh no, Bix, what happened? And then they had the time skip like, oh yeah, she's better now. And then now you're in Imperial custody. So I'm like, what is good? Like, is she going to like? I'm wondering if her and Cinta are going to end up working together. Because I hope so. I can't assume that like obviously their goal right now is to find out where Cassian is to kill him for Luthen, but I just don't see that. Well, obviously he's not going to die because we know he's in Rogue One. But I don't see them. I don't see them being like adversaries. I see them maybe that being a thing at first, and then them eventually being like, no, we gotta help him out here. And I'm like if we get the Bix, Vel, Cinta crew breaking Cassian and Melshi out of prison, I'll be like, I'm all for that. But I'm assuming the last 3 episodes
crossover.
We're gonna be back on Ferrix.
Because
we have to be back
because like that's Deidre probably with Death Troopers.
Yep. And then there's the shot of the sun throwing the explosive.
Yep.
Which now we understand it's because they tortured the hell out of his dad. So even more sad than I could have imagined.
Yep. Exactly. And I'm horrified for when we do have that big thing on Ferrix because like we said, Marva. But also I just as much as I'd like to think that Bix is going to make it through the whole, and maybe she'll make it to season 2. But I mean, I just don't see a way that she's still alive during the events of Rogue One because of Jyn and Cassian. So probably gonna have to bite it. And possibly. Again, if there's no Andor recap that week, don't
I could see her still being alive because like her and Cassian right now are not on like a romantic level, like, and it seems like they haven't been for quite some time.
Oh, I'm rooting for the kids. I'm rooting for them. I need that reunion because she tells them to like leave and like you can like has not stopped thinking about Cassian since then. No worries. But she like you can tell that like it's like completely getting to her about where he is, and it's just like if you could only explain your true feelings, we wouldn't be in this mess. Should have just went with them. Then they could have been cellmates on Narkina.
Oh Jesus!
No, I need her in Cinta.
I didn't see any women in that prison, anyways. And what am I talking about? She would have gone to a different labor camp.
Probably.
What's that about?
She would have been with Jyn on Wobani, probably.
Come on, Empire. Torture your prisoners equally. None of this segregated crap. The more I think about that prison, the more uncomfortable and unsettling it is. And like just the way that they've been able to craft something like that, I am just a huge fan of what they're doing here, because they've managed to make it this like labor camp more intimidating than your simple what you'd expect from a dictatorship prison. Of just inhumane treatment. And like I said, the fact that they like put on this happy face of, oh, you know, you'll find this different than any other being incarcerated at any other point in the past. And if you just do your job, it'll be great for you. When they're like, yeah, it's like, hopefully this will be the last time you ever have to deal with this shock. And they're like, it won't.
Yeah.
You're going to get shocked later today, actually. Because of course they regret, they just leave out the part where it's like, yeah, the losing table every day gets shocked.
Yep.
Which, again, that would just be horrible. Just picturing myself in that scenario, it's like, oh man, like I can't be slacking. I literally have to be working nonstop.
And then it's like
or
the
I'm
table,
toast.
The table of the guy who like killed himself, like is obviously going to be losing every week because they have one less person. And so like that was before it was table 5 because they had one less person. Now they have Cassian. And it's like, man, you apparently have to be rooting to have another person incarcerated so that you're not losing and getting shocked after every shift.
That's another thing. Like you don't think about it until then. It's like that's why they were short another person, because someone on their group killed themselves. That's just
because it's like it's not likely that someone actually finished their sentence. That's not likely.
No,
not at all. I wonder what they are building.
I don't
Someone
know.
said Death Star parts.
People are saying Death Star parts. I hope not. That would suck.
Like Rogue One hurt even more.
It wouldn't surprise me. Tony would just it wouldn't shock me if that was what they were building. Because
I could see it.
Tony Gilroy just would fuck us all up. Yeah.
Absolute pain.
Mm-hmm. Absolute pain. But I don't think we've talked about Mon Mothma in this episode yet, so we can talk about her, and then we can go to Saw,
the best part of the episode.
The best part of the episode.
Yep.
Mon Mothma in this episode, I feel like it was more of the same as last week. What we do see a bit more of the people that she's like communicating with, and Perrin is still such an asshole, man. I just don't.
He sucks.
Yo, fuck
don't
Perrin.
like that guy.
I hate that guy.
He sucks.
He just gives off the energy of oh, what do you mean you're not drinking tonight? Come on, it's just one drink. What's it gonna hurt? Like during that one scene, I'm like, dude, just go away.
He gives off big centrist vibes.
Yep. Everybody at that party. Literally, there was a conversation where it was like, oh, Palpatine, man, he sucks. And I was like, oh, well, you know, he's not that bad. I mean, they don't do that much. Like, it's okay. And it's like,
there was some of that in the prison too. Like, there's that one guy that was just giving him the look of like, oh, the Empire. Or am I thinking of? You know what? No, I'm thinking of Tales of the Jedi. I'm sorry. I'm getting my shows mixed up. It's
all one galaxy.
That's what I get for watching 7 episodes of Star Wars television in a row in one night. That's a lot. But I did see a tweet. I don't remember. It might have been you. Was it you? I don't think it was you that tweeted it. But it was like, this episode is just Mon Mothma living her best life at parties while Cassian's just suffering in prison the whole time.
I did like that tweet. I may have liked it
life.
And retweeted it because it was hilarious. Because that's literally how it was broken up. Like, each scene is just Mon, like, trying to like get through this party, and then it would just switch to Cassian like doing hard labor. Because
I brought this up off camera. There has been 2 weeks in a row now where I've like been ready to start the episode, and I'll go to watch it, and my Twitter screen will refresh, and the first thing I see is one of your tweets, and it's like about. I'm like, uh-oh. It's like I was saying, oh, Cyril and Dedrill have a scene together. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I know something that's happening in this. But at least it wasn't super duper important, because last week it wasn't you, but someone's tweet about Yularen popped off before I watched the episode, and I'm like, I really wish but it was like, is that Yularen? I'm like, okay, so is it gonna be Yularen? I'm not sure. So then that scene happened, and I was waiting till the credits to see if it was Yularen, because I guess they say it in the subtitles, but I wasn't watching with subtitles on, so we'll see.
I have to watch with subtitles.
Same.
I can't hear anything if I don't watch with subtitles.
Yeah, I mean, I really should, so I don't lose my hearing at 24. But oh well, you got to live life, I guess.
Live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh, love. Back pains
Luthen.
of a 60-year-old person at 24 is just what I'm aiming for. But at least it's not. At least it's not you. At least I can say I can see out of both eyes.
Yeah, you can see out of both eyes, and you didn't have a hernia, so.
Broke my foot. Does that count?
I'd say so.
Yeah. Okay. So now that we're done with our installment of comparing injuries, a love letter to Star Wars animation, we can talk about Saw Gerrera and Luthen. Which
there's not much of me left.
No. If I will, real quick. Ah,
my guy right there. That's baby girl right
there. I got so excited when Tutube showed up. I was like,
I was really hoping it would be this episode. I was like, he's one of the main characters on that poster. He's one of the biggest ones on that poster, and he is still not on the show. And I was really worried that they would wait. I was like, don't wait till the last. Like, give me him now. And it was fantastic.
And I just love the way that their conversation starts. Because, like, Luthen is like, oh, he was like, because he knows it's his doing, but it's like, so were you the one that with the garrison on Aldhani? He's like, I was about to ask you the same thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. I see what this guy's doing. And then the conversation just escalated and escalated and escalated. And everyone has been talking about how good Forrest Whitaker's performance was in this episode. And that is an understatement. My dude killed it this week. This is my favorite. It's my favorite Saw Gerrera scene I think I've ever seen.
Same.
And there's a lot of them because they throw this man in everything. But I was just like, wow, this is good. And I don't remember if we said it here or before we started talking about when he's just rattling off like all the other sectors and all the other like people and why he works alone.
Sectors,
Neo-Republicans, occultists.
Lost.
That's my all-time favorite Saw moment right now.
Same.
I love that so much.
I love that he lists neo-Republican. Like the fact that there are people that are like still wanting to go back to the Republic, but Saw he knows that was still a flawed system. Like that's not what I'm interested in going back to. And oh my God, it's just everything he does is I love him. He's never done anything wrong in his life.
No, definitely not. I don't know who this Krieger guy is that Luthen wants him to work with, but nah.
If Saw Gerrera ever called me an ox, I think I'd have to like just bury myself in my room and never resurface. Never resurface,
yeah.
Yep.
I love the look they gave him too. I don't remember did he have like the scars and stuff down his face in Rogue One, or is that a new detail?
He did in Rogue. I don't think they're as like apparent. I think that is a scar from when he left Jyn behind because he did get beat up pretty badly.
Yeah.
And you know what? That line where he's like, "I'm not gonna put my people at risk for someone else," is like directly because the last time he took on a mission, he had to leave behind his kid, and he's like, "Nope, I'm not doing it anymore." And everyone's like, "Why won't he work with anyone else?" Because he did once and he lost his kid and he's never going to do it again. And it sucks. And I love him.
Jeez. Oh, that hurt.
Pain. Yeah.
That hurt a little bit.
It hurts so good.
So good. I don't know about good. It just hurts. it just hurts. But this whole meeting with Luthen kind of goes to a standstill. Because they can't get each other to do what they want.
Yeah, I just love how like Luthen's just like, we gotta work together, dude. And Saw's like, no.
I mean, we know it's not the last because we still don't have the it's like, let's call it war scene from the trailer.
Yeah, we don't have.
Can't wait for that.
We don't
scene.
have that yet.
Cannot wait.
I thought that was going to happen here. Truthfully,
yeah, me too. I was like, "Where's the line? Where's the line?" he didn't say it, so
say the line,
we know
Bart.
there's going to be more. But who is this Krieger guy? Like, I want to know who he is so I can dislike him immediately. Because if Saw doesn't like him,
yeah.
well, I mean, that we don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Because Saw doesn't like anyone really, but we'll see.
Saw's got the right idea of not liking anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, definitely. But I'm very curious of where this goes, and I'm my theory throughout the whole show is that Luthen's death is going to be somewhat related to Saw, somehow. I don't think Saw is going to personally kill him, but I think something that Saw does is going to lead to Luthen dying, and that's going to lead to a bit more of the split between Saw and the rebellion, which is the one thing I am curious about, because at this point I thought it was supposed to be established that he is working more closely to the rebellion compared to Rogue One, but even here they're talking about needing to unite all the sects together, and he's very, very much opposed to it. So I'm interested to see where it goes, and I want to see more like members of all these other groups that Saw is talking about and just maybe get them all in a room and just talk things out, and then Saw can just scream at them all and tell them why they're wrong and why his way of thinking is the only way that works.
I love that Luthen like takes a jab at him. Like he calls him, like anarchy is seductive, and you say that a lot for someone who's like hiding in a cave, begging for spare parts, because like those jabs at him to get him riled up have worked in the past, but it didn't work this time.
Mm-hmm.
Like Saw, like for a second you see him like pissed, and then he laughs it off and he's like, nope, no sell today.
There's another great line about the makings of a rebellion, which I don't remember what it was.
Oppression breeds rebellion.
Oppression breeds rebellion, which was great. And I loved the scene where Luthen just pretty much calls himself a coward, which I
love that, because
I was eating that up.
Even though like Saw's like, I never really known what you are, like he pretty much knows coward. That like he is a coward. Like he hides behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, he has this facade, this double life.
Another great line from Saw, of course. I'm the only one with clarity of purpose. Like, my guy, I love him. He's just so, like, I do wish he was more open to working with other people. But that is his character flaw. And no character is perfect. Everyone's going to have their flaws. And that's his flaw.
And by the time we see him in Rogue One, he's so paranoid of everyone that we get
he's like, now I have
the aforementioned Borgullet. So I hope he shows up. Just a little shot in the corner.
Or maybe like a drop, like, oh, we gotta go to Jeddah.
Yeah.
Because I
gotta go to Jeddah. I gotta feed Borgullet.
I have a good tentacle friend waiting for me, or something like that,
That would be nice. I mean, like I said, before I knew what this prison was, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if like we just see like just a shot in like the next cell room over, we see just Jin. But I don't think they can do that now, because this definitely seems like an all male prison that Cassian's a part of. But I was like, I wonder if there's going to be a certain scene like that at some point in the show where Felicity Jones is like, we pan and we see her in the background. I mean, obviously they're not going to interact, but just to get her back there one more time, because I think she deserves it. But
she definitely deserves it. I think we'll get a name drop, or like a slight mention, like, oh, Saw, what happened to that like girl you always had around your base, or like your best soldier, something like that. And then we will see her in season 2. I know we are. Because it's going to lead up directly to Rogue One. So if Felicity Jones doesn't come back, I'm going to burn down Lucasfilm myself.
I mean, she signed a multi-film deal when Rogue One came out. It's like, get us the other part of that contract. I think so. I think it came out that or at least when that movie was coming out. I think Felicity Jones was signed on for multiple projects. I don't know if they're like ever going to utilize that, or maybe that was just like they said she signed for a multi-film deal to make you give that strong, like that little hint, that slight hint of hope that they're not all going to die at the end of that movie. And then they did, because I remember when that movie was coming out, they were like, people were like, oh, they can't just kill everyone, can they? Like, that's going to be dark. Well,
they certainly did.
Unfortunately,
allegedly,
as a matter of fact, they did. Allegedly. I mean, maybe there was just that bright light on Scarif and it missed Jyn and Cassian, and they're still there.
Jyn and Cassian, they're in the world between worlds. Don't worry about them. They're fine.
Don't worry about
everything's
them.
fine.
Do not worry about them.
They're totally fine.
They're all right. Don't worry. I mean, for all we know, Cassian's just going to be in that prison for the next 6 years. So this show just completely retcons Rogue One. He's fine.
Could
you don't have to worry about it. Yeah,
he actually just
the show ends. He's still in prison. It's like, Tony, what'd you do here? It's like, I don't know. I just want to tell a prison story. It's like
I don't know. I was just taking notes from Dave Filoni.
Yeah,
I thought it was fine.
Just because it's happened before doesn't mean it still has to happen. Like, it's like, and Tony, you wrote Rogue One, or you helped direct it. It's like
he's like, I don't care.
What? Like Rogue what? Like I have no idea
what you're talking about.
There is no
I
Rogue
don't
One.
know what a Star Wars is, but I don't know. The more that like people say like, yeah, Tony Gilroy doesn't care about Star Wars, and then like these small things keep showing up, I'm like, whatever you're like, I kind of want a little bit of this not caring about Star Wars life, because if I can make stuff this good, like, man, I need to get in on that. But no, this episode was fantastic. I'm very interested in seeing how they get out of this prison, because right now I have no earthly idea how they're going to get out.
Someone has to come save them.
Someone has to, which I hope
even if they can get out of the prison itself and I don't know, get on top, how are they? It's like an ocean planet. How are they going to get out?
I know. Like if it's Cinta and Bix and those people, that would be awesome. But if it's also the partisans, that would be really cool as well.
I would cry.
Yeah, no, definitely. If it's just randomly Chirrut and Baze, just so they can show up in the show, just no explanation. They don't show up before at all. They just show up. It's like that would be kind of hilarious. But I have a feeling it's either Saw's group or the people that we're seeing on Ferrix right now, and then
Narkina 5 was an inside job.
I don't want to talk about Narkina 5 right now. It's just pain all around. It's just scary.
Yeah,
but Melchi's the homie. Even though Conor doesn't know who he is, he's
shut the fuck up.
Allegedly, he doesn't know.
Allegedly, who is this person you speak of? But no, I'm excited. I'm also, though, just like the Aldhani mission, even though we don't know much about the rest of the Table 5 people, terrified for their future, because they've already got us once with Nemec, and please don't make one of them just incredibly likable next episode just to kill him, and the one after that.
I mean, they can make Melchi incredibly likable, because we know he loves.
He already is. He already is.
He is.
Like, you don't need to. Like, he already. Yeah, I mean, immediately he's like, "Oh, that's Keith," which I'm still like, of all names, Cassian.
I know.
Keith. Like, I saw that. What did I see? It was like someone, like the name Keith was just someone at Lucasfilm forgetting, like, one of the name. Yeah, Grief Karga.
Yep.
And they said Keith Kirko. And I'm like, that would be hilarious. Just Dave pops in. It's like, who's that guy that we have? Carl Weathers' character, Keith. It's like Grief. It's like Tony Gilroy here is like, I like the sound of that.
I was like, yeah, I fuck with that. I like that.
I just hope like his next, like, obviously fake, like, alias that Cassian has is just somehow even worse. Just so we can just keep having like Clem starts off good. It's like, oh, that's his dad. It's like Keith. It's like, buddy, what are you doing here? And then
he's
it's
just gonna go Jabba the Hutt. He's gonna pull Ezra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Buffalo Wild Wings is deals on deals on deals.
Deals on deals.
Oh man. I want that to show up. Just space, like that's where Ezra's been in Ahsoka, is just space Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, in the unknown regions, there's actually just a chain of Buffalo
There's
Wild
just
Wings.
a chain of Buffalo Wild
That's where
Wings.
he's at.
That would be great. I mean, I can't think of anything else that would be better than that. So let's go with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
to your
go ahead.
one point, Andrew, about the whole like multi-film deal, the only actor I could think was Alden, because I don't remember Felicity ever talking about that, but like, because I couldn't find anything.
I know Alden did have one.
Yeah.
And I want to say so did Amelia, which again, Lucasfilm, start using that soon, please.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little impatient here. But real quickly, before we wrap things up, I want to ask while I have you here, and then Connor's here as well. We did get some non-Andor news earlier this week about the potential next film we might be getting. Damon Lindelof going to be writing it. He did the Watchmen show. He wrote on Lost. So he's writing. One of the Miss Marvel directors is going to be directing, and apparently it's going to be set post Rise of Skywalker, and we might have some sequel characters show up again. I did a short video on this, but I thought we'd do a bit more of a discussion here. Mo, I'm not entirely sure about what your tastes are outside of Rogue One when it comes to Star Wars. So is this something that excites you? Do you want to see these characters again, or do you want to just see something completely new?
I love all the sequel trilogy characters. I love the movies. I just like, I'm not gonna get my hopes up until it's more solidified.
That's my thing. Is I'm like, this sounds so cool, and I really want to see. I really want to see Rey and Finn again, so I can see Finn training, even if they're not the main characters. I'm like, that sounds amazing. However, they've had, unfortunately, a few of these announcements lately where we're going to announce this new movie, and then we stop hearing about it after like a month.
Yeah,
it happened with Rogue Squadron. It looks like it's happening right now with Taika's movie. I completely forgot about Kevin Feige's one until I was reading an article that brought up like a list of things that have stalled. I'm like, oh yeah, that was a thing, wasn't it? And then we have Rian Johnson's trilogy when that happens, when he's done making Knives Out 17, which by all means give us all of them. But this I'm excited for, because if it does happen, because I love the thought of fresh creative minds going to tell stories in this galaxy. I love the idea of these characters, like I said, even if they're not the main characters, which I'm not even sure they should be in this scenario. But if we have new characters and then we have some of the other ones like Poe or Finn showing up, and the getting to tell their stories outside of the realm of the Skywalker saga, I love that. I love getting, like, having them do their own thing, not knowing that you have to connect to anything, and not like having to worry about writing out a whole trilogy or like trying to like reach an end goal. Just telling one story, which I hope it happens. And the fact that Oscar recently has been more accepting about coming back, and same thing with Daisy Ridley. Boyega's the only one where he's like, no, I think I'm good. But he might be playing coy. You can never tell with John Boyega. Yeah. But again, it's like when they bring that truck full of money to your house, I feel like the answer might change for certain.
Yeah, when
people.
they bring the truck full of money and hey, we're gonna defend you when people come.
It's like, you're gonna be a Jedi in this one. It's like, am I actually gonna be one? It's like, you're going to be a Jedi in this one. It's like, I had the poster.
Like I
got the action figures. Like, I was told that this was going to be a thing. It's like, no. Like, it's happening. Have you seen the Lego Holiday Special? Have you seen Summer Vacation with You in the Hawaiian shirt? And they're like, yeah.
Because those are canon to me.
They're in my mind. They are just absolutely fantastic. Connor, do you think this is gonna happen, or do you think this is just another one of these where we hear about it and then it goes quiet, and then we hear about a year from now that it's quietly been shelved? Or
I don't know.
Differences? I mean, there's got to be a movie coming at some point, right? Like one of these days they're gonna figure it out.
It sounds cool.
I miss Star Wars in theaters. Like, I hope so.
It's been 3 years. Like,
Star Wars in theaters just hits different.
How did people do it? Like, how did, like, when the prequels were coming out, like, how did people do this? Like, when they had to wait 3 years, and then the originals too. But of course, there was obviously the almost 20-year gap. But if that happens, at least I'll have Disney Plus. Because, I mean, for the most part, they've been killing it with the streaming stuff. So, I mean, I would, even if it's a smaller story, I mean, get something in development. Like, one of these ideas that they're throwing at the starboard has to stick at some point. So maybe it's the fact that the regime is changing a bit, that they're finally getting something off the ground movie-wise. This writer's room has apparently already happened. Dave Filoni being involved makes me excited and terrified at the same time.
Well, they said he may have been present.
Might be involved. Like, I love you, Dave.
Like, all right.
I love you so much, but I don't want this connected to Mando in any way. And I just, please keep stories intact, because I'm tired of having this conversation, man, or I have to do these, like, mental gymnastics of, like, yeah, it still works if you take all this into consideration. Just like, I just want, like,
they're gonna be like, yeah, so the story is set 50 ABY, and he's like, listen, Ahsoka is still alive at
she's
this
still
time.
alive.
We can
my joke has been, Dave, we're gonna get to the point where they announced that there's gonna be a new cut of Revenge of the Sith coming on Disney Plus, and just Ahsoka is just CG imposed in the background of certain shots. And that's it. The movie's completely the same except for that. Which
they don't even have to do that, because I watched the supercut of
I still
the last
haven't done that.
4. I can give you the link for it. It's cut pretty well.
I might need that. I'm still, like, shocked that they never, because they had at Celebration, they had the screening for the Siege of Mandalore, like, as a movie, and I'm just, why didn't they release that cut on Disney Plus?
I don't know.
I was saying when theaters were first opening back up, like, after, like, the height of the pandemic died down and the theaters were starting to open up again, I was saying, like, that should be something that they should release when theaters are opening up, is Siege of Mandalore, because I'd watch it. I'd be like, I'll risk getting COVID for that. But I don't know about everyone else, but
they should just re-release Revenge of the Sith and then put Siege of Mandalore as well.
They should have done that.
I feel like
they should have did that for Kenobi. I don't know why they didn't.
They underestimate the fact that, like, you can re-release a movie, a Star Wars film, and fans will go pay to see it.
Yeah,
because
they did it with
miss
Rogue One.
Watching. I did it personally. I did it with Rogue One at least like 5 times.
They didn't release the re-release near me, but this guy got to see it. I couldn't go. They didn't have it near me.
Perks of living in the DC area.
Why didn't they do that with Kenobi? Why didn't they re-release Revenge of the Sith for Obi-Wan? But I'm hoping that they do it again.
I mean, that prequel recap at the start of the first episode was really freaking nice.
It was nice. It was really, really nice. It really made it feel like, okay, this is, like, part of that story. Like, this is a continuation. This is where we left off, which I loved. But again, I know they had, like, screenings in, like, Canada, I think, for Obi-Wan, like, the first couple episodes. I'm like, just bring it here. I just want to see Star Wars on the big screen, man. Like,
dude, seeing Star Wars for me, it's like seeing Star Wars on the big screen is great. But what I think, for me at least, is better is seeing Star Wars trailers on the big screen. Like, if I'm going to see, like, a Marvel movie or whatever, most of the time I could not give a crap about any of the other trailers. And like the second the Star Wars trailer comes on, I'm locked in.
In the lead to 7 and 8, whenever like those trailers would hit before I'm watching a movie, I'd be like, yeah, this is the life right here. But no, it's been, well, Rise of Skywalker obviously was my last like full-on theater one, but then I did get to see Empire Strikes Back at the drive-in 2 years ago. So I'm counting that.
Nice.
That was amazing because Empire's my favorite.
I watched Empire at El Capitan Theater. It was fantastic.
That sounds fantastic.
It was great.
I need to. Every time I talk myself out of like moving to California, I'm like, but they show Star Wars movies in the theater down there, and it's like
it's ridiculously expensive, but you get to watch Star Wars every now and then, and it's great.
You know what? That sounds like a good idea to me. So I'm packing my bags right now. There's no other point. But I think, this was just I had such a great time getting to talk about Andor and Star Wars as a whole with you. Thank you so much for coming on, Mo. We really appreciate it. And if you ever want to talk about Andor again, you're welcome to come back on. We always have a spot for you here. If you want to just real quickly plug where the people can find you, what you're up to, go right ahead, and we can get out of here.
Yeah, you could find me on Twitter at JinMyStardust. You can also follow our shop on Instagram, Sunshine Seekers, and we make fandom merch for all of your fan nerd needs.
Perfect. I gotta check. I briefly looked at it the other day, but I need to fully go into the shop.
Jared checked it out.
Yeah, Jared checked it out and just bought something right away.
Yeah.
I saw the ending. I was like, oh man, this Sunshine Seeker stuff is really cool. But so he did end up buying stuff.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
And I left a note to put a little gift in there. So if you do grab something, just let me know and I'll throw in a
Speaking of that, thank you, Jared, for hijacking the show when my internet went out at the end of our recording. I appreciate you. That was a nice surprise when I was editing the footage, seeing that, because my internet was dead for about several hours before I hopped back on. Conor, as for you, you're used to doing this. Where can the people find you?
Twitter at DepaBanana, Nerd Academy podcast, where I co-host with my aforementioned co-host Jared, specifically our Star Wars show, Knights of the Nerd Republic. We talk Star Wars. That's really all I got to say. In a variety of ways, somewhat. Yeah.
You do? You talk about Star Wars there?
Yeah, it's weird.
Okay, that's interesting.
I don't know what the Star Wars thing is.
I've never seen it. Never seen Star Wars.
I've heard it's pretty independent. I've heard it's like a pretty independent film series, kind of under the radar.
Yeah, it's pretty indie.
Definitely.
I don't think you would have.
Definitely.
Lies. Deceptions.
I had to get it in at least once.
Every day, more lies.
Okay.
And then you can find me over at sweditorig.com/fiction. I help write a bunch of fan short stories with a bunch of other friends. It's a connected universe of Star Wars fanfic stories. I don't have any stories published yet. There are a bunch published on the website. I do recommend checking them out. They're all really good. One story I do have that I can talk about, because I've some in development, but one I can talk about is The Hidden Kyber. It is part of our fan initiative, Dawn of the Order, which we're taking a look at the formation of the First Order through our own unique character-driven lens. My story is tangentially connected to all of it while also being pretty standalone. It's set shortly after the events of Jedi Fallen Order, and it stars Seer Junda and Cal Kestis. It comes out probably December. I think December.
All right.
Yeah.
You can find me just figuring out today how to use video clips on StreamYard, which I have been using to my advantage. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Starlight Andrew. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at For the Repub Pod. Give us a follow. You can also check us out on Instagram and TikTok at For the Republic Pod, where we post clips of the episodes and just let you know when new stuff is going to be coming out. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, For the Republic Podcast. That's where you can get glorious video form of these episodes. We're posting a lot more frequently, and we're trying to do some more short form content, which we will be getting to you very, very soon. As for what you can see coming up soon, we do have our newest episode of our Clone Wars watch through, which we posted about 2 days ago at this point. We watched Trespass. We had Conor's co-host Jared join us for that episode. We're also going to be having our coverage of Tales of the Jedi coming up probably next week. It was supposed to be this weekend, but some stuff happened. So probably going to be next week. We're going to do one episode on Ahsoka, one episode on the Dooku episodes, and you can enjoy that then. We're going to have a little guest for you as well. And then you can get us back here next week for Andor episode 9, which will get the continuation of the prison arc. So thank you for joining us. Thank you once again for Mo for coming on the show to talk about Star Wars with us. And as always, may the Force be with you. Always.